Alrighty, let's see. Tier 9 game, which is not super favorable. You're a little bit heavy up top. Your top guys don't really have that much experience, and so they're kind of not so great of players, but the comp is decent. You're probably about the same comps between the two teams. So I would still probably start heading out in this direction. There's no artillery, which is good. So you can I would probably actually play like around in this area right here. You don't want to be so close, especially against 9s, that they can sort of single you out easily. So if you stay back here, you can still shoot down over here if they try to send anybody through that area. You can also divert to the middle if they don't send anybody through there. But you don't necessarily want to push up like normally I would in a top tier tank or a reasonably armored tank or a reasonably fast tank. Like a lot of the Russian mediums, I'll push up into this area right here because you can basically prevent them, or you can slow them down and keep them from coming into the good territory, which is really over here. So you have your MT-25 in the bowl. A lot of your armors headed out to that northeast, which is a mixed blessing. It's okay as long as they do okay out there, but if they don't, then yeah, all of a sudden it's not as good. You have to be really careful when you shoot that, because you have to understand that your guys are going to be crossing in front of you. Like, I always look down on the mini-map, like, before I shoot. Like, you don't need to physically look to the right, but you should glance at the mini-map. Like, you should see this E-75 is coming through right now. That guy actually penned you through the turret roof. Not an easy shot, but okay. So that's that thing right there. And then their 5100 is over here. You want to try to get some shots on this 5100. If he shoots your upper glaciers, that's okay. If he shoots your lower glaciers, he's going to go through it. You know, especially if you think this 5100 is clipping, you want to be able to force that. You want to force the issue here. You don't want to let them sit here and reclip. Especially if they're not pressuring you from right here. See how your IS-6 is moving forward? So you should be moving forward right now to kill this 5100 with the IS-6. Although it looks like the IS-6 will be able to do it, like you don't want to necessarily chance that, right? Because right now you're waiting for a shot that may or may not come. So they push back through the middle, and so this is again a situation where you want to shoot a little bit more towards the drive wheel there, because if you shoot him through the drive wheel, you'll have a chance of hitting that hill, but you can also track him out there for your guys behind you. And so if you're a little bit further back, like I said, you can shoot these guys like you could have shot that 1390 that was over here. And so I don't like waiting for these guys, right? Because you're giving them all the advantages, right? If they poke, right, you have a shot. But if they decide not to poke, you're just waiting. Like you're waiting on them. You're letting them dictate what happens. Like you can still get good shots on this 1390. Now that this E75 is coming across, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Oh, okay, now that so now you should still be able to get good shots on this E75. This 5100 that's going to be basically stuck down here because it doesn't have a whole lot of damage. They're still going to have some tanks behind them though. You don't want to necessarily take on this E75 friendly, but like this 122-54 could get all sorts of free shots on this E75 as he crossed there if you wanted. So what you want to do is you want to go almost like where this bush is right there, and that'll be perfect because they won't be able to shoot you from over there. You'll get side shots on the E75. Excellent, perfect.
It's a trap.
No, and there's no need to back up. There's no need to back up. Just be ready to shoot. So as soon as you're loaded, you want to be able to shoot. There's no reason for you to back up. Nobody's going to shoot you. And then now that E75 is turning towards you, no, he's not. No. You want to be able. You want to be ready to shoot. Especially see how your E75 is down. Now their 13 is up. E75 first. E75 first. E75 first. Okay, the E75 is down. Okay, now what you want to do is just back up. You don't want to be stuck out here. There's a rock back here. You basically want to back up to where that rock is. They're gonna start pushing across behind you as well. So you need to break on a flank before you get surrounded. There's also that guy coming around that side over there. So that's something you can push. So what I would do is you can push multiple directions. The bridge is probably the best direction. After that, this is probably the second best direction, and then going up through here is third best direction, but still not what I would consider preferable. You're like basically pushing yourself into a flank here. The KV-3 pushed your E-75, which is fine. You should be able to bully these guys. The Tiger 1 has enough pen to hurt you, but like the KV-3 doesn't really. But the KV-3 is on the ground. The Tiger 1 is presumably still up here. So bully, 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 bully.
It's a trap!
So as soon as you're loaded, you should be shooting at this guy. When you can bully, you gotta bully. Don't give him a chance, especially since the other Tiger can just come up behind you. And then just keep retracting and firing through that drive wheel. And if you don't think that he's gonna repair, start turning your tracks to defend yourself from the other Tiger. So go clear up that other Tiger, and then you'll have to go back through the base. And there's another guy that's back there still. You don't know where the Roomba is yet, so he might be over in this area. So you want to be careful. Like when you're engaging this Tiger, you don't want to be someplace where you can get shot from over there. If you basically hug the Tiger, no, just face hug the Tiger. There won't be anything that he can do. It's fine. The IS is behind you. IS is another tank that you can bully. The Roomba is not a tank that you can bully, so you gotta be a little bit more careful there. You should load your 1 HE for that guy, though. So at this point, see how this Tiger 2 is coming around over here? You actually probably want to go around behind these guys if you can. Well, actually, no, they're pushing around towards your front. You want to be able to shoot this guy before he gets to your SU-122-54. So you're backing off too much. You're abandoning your guy. That guy's just getting shot up.
It's a trap!
It's an unfortunate bounce. This is especially since your tank has limited HE shells. I'm sorry, limited ammo. This is where you want to start thinking about using the HE for that Roomba. And they've got you surrounded now. E50 got out here. Lol. But look, you've got your Centurion up here. Maybe he'll win the game for you. Yeah, so I thought you did fine. I thought coming over here was fine, especially when you're firing across early. Look down at the minimap before you fire. You don't need to literally turn your head to look. Just look at the minimap, and if you're clear, then you take the shot. If you're not clear, then you should not take the shot. And you maybe could have gotten an extra shot of damage on that 1375 or 1390, whatever it was. And then coming across here was fine. You sat over here. When this guy pushed the 5100, if it's obvious that the 5100 is clipping, then you can keep these guys honest over here. If the 5100 is going to kill your IS-6, you obviously have to push with the IS-6 to make sure that 5100 goes down before that happens. Otherwise, I think you waited too long in this position. Like you were waiting for that AMX-30 to peek over for you to get a shot. In the meantime, like their 1390 was in the bowl, and if you turned around, you would have got shots on him. Their E75 was in the bowl. Their 5100 ended up diving into the bowl. So there was a lot of opportunities for you guys to shoot there. And let's see. After that, a lot of playing the 54 prototype is understanding which tanks you can bully and which tanks you can't bully. And so pretty much anything with a 175 pen gun you should bully. And that means you basically just drive straight at them and say, hey, I'm gonna out DPM you every single time I'm loaded. I'm going to shoot you. So like I felt like that tiger right there, and especially when you know that there's another tiger behind you and you don't know what else is coming down this one line, like there shouldn't be as much dancing as you did with that tiger. It should just be like, hey, you know, I'm going to shoot you in the face, and you can decide what you want to do about that. Especially when he's on higher elevation like that, it's going to be really difficult for him to shoot into your lower glacis. So that's a situation where you could have bullied a lot more, and you were lucky that this tiger didn't push back to the side to just shoot you in the rear. Otherwise, I thought you did okay. I mean, I didn't really think that you had a whole lot there. I think a lot of your team, the problem was that your team went over to that northeast ice road side and just died there is probably the majority of the problem with that. So if we look at the stats, yeah, their E50 did a lot. I think he was over on that other side. Eventually he came around behind through the west side though, so not entirely sure where he was for most of that game. But most of the tanks that you saw didn't do a whole lot, right? That 5100 was a clip tank, it only did 1200 damage. The E75 drove across the middle, only did 1200 damage. So a lot of the tanks that you saw really didn't do a whole lot, which theoretically is good, but unfortunately there were a bunch of tanks on your team that also didn't do a whole lot, so that happens. And especially, so, you know, this is something that I sort of mentioned. Understand that you don't have a whole lot of ammo, so especially when you start getting down to like 10 shells or something like that, start planning it out. Start saying, okay, well, there's a Roomba here with 700 health, I have 1 HE and 7 APCRs left, right? So if I hit him with 1 HE and I pen, you know, then it only takes 2 other shells in order to get, because like you were entering that area where you were going to run out of shells before you you ran out of things to actually kill. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But otherwise, I thought you played it pretty well. GG. Alright, the next one will be Reverse Engineering T54 Lightweight on Sand River. This is a pretty good map for light tanks. Standard mode. So usually in standard mode, you can do one of two things. If you have decent fire support from your platoon mates, you can play the K line. Otherwise, I normally will light through the middle area here, and that really just gives you an idea of who's crossing right here. And what that tells you essentially is what they're going to have on the backside of this hill early on. And if they don't send anything there, then you can actually start pushing up through this ridge, which actually gives you an advantage because you can start lighting these things over here as well. And then usually, like, if you're in a platoon and you're going to spot, you tell them, hey, just go here, get a shot, and then go to wherever you're going to go. But it looks like your pattern's going to the northeast. I almost never go to the northeast. I think that it's not super reasonable, not a super great place to be. And you need to be careful. You can actually still get hit by artillery there. It's just a reduced chance. So their Bulldog pushed up here, but right, see how none of your tanks were able to actually be in a position to shoot them. And that's sort of the problem that I have with a lot of people on this map, is that they don't actually go to where they can shoot tanks, or especially in the early game. And then so see how they have people on the backside over here and this guy over here. So it's going to be increasingly difficult to play this area right there. You can, so this area can actually be shot, well, sort of from over here, but you can light and shoot them from over here, especially if these guys are playing a little passive over here, which looks like they're not totally. So it looks like you're going to push up here. So the thing about pushing up here is that what you want to be able to do is you want to put some flank pressure on these guys. You want to be able to drive past. A lot of what happens on this north area is that there's a lot of peek and poke, and that's usually not that good. And see, so this is the problem, is that you can shoot there, but nobody's lighting it. But if you light it, then nobody's shooting it, and that's sort of the problem with light tanks. But you are in a platoon, so if nobody's shooting what you're lighting, that's really on you. Or on your platoon mates, which I would actually probably say is still on you. You're in a platoon; they should be in a position to do it, to do things to help you, or you should be in a position where you can do things, you can light things to actually help them.
It's a trap!
So that was a reasonably good surf. But remember, all you have to do is stick your turret over, and that's it. You can keep those guys. You can keep those guys consistently lit, especially when you have artillery. Like if I'm on your team in an artillery, if you keep those guys reasonably consistently lit, I will kill them.
It's a trap!
Like, it's less important for you to shoot at that STI than it is for you to establish where these guys are over here. You don't really have much of a firing line, but all of these guys can shoot all of your guys right there. Like, that's where you're bleeding right now. It's not this STI. It's these guys that are just sitting up on this ridge, these ridges, shooting at your guys as they come into this area right here. So as a light tank right now, I feel like you're playing really passively. Like, a lot of times you're behind the front line, and you're like looking for these sniping things. Like, a lot of times, especially early to mid game, a lot of the play is what you really want to do is establish where the enemy is, keep them consistently lit, keep them pinned in someplace. Looks like your 46 patent is going to... Okay, there he goes. That should not be a problem. Don't worry about that too much. You need to worry about other things. Like, not entirely sure where you're going here. It's like you're just wasting a little bit too much time. There's these long stretches where you're just sort of driving around. You're not really shooting at anything. You're not really spotting anything. You're not really setting anything up. You're just kind of, looking at the scenery. Right? Like, I felt like if you just did a lot more of that, that was a little bit too deep of a cut. Like, you didn't need to go out that far. But I felt like if you just did a lot more of that, like, you would have been a lot more effective in this game. They're pushing here, so this is now was when you get set up over here to get these shots. Right there.
It's a trap!
Right? And instead of pushing frontally into these guys. And then ideally what you want to be able to do is flank, right? And so that's why, like, if your plan is to attack this 122-44, you should have just driven over this hill and shot him in the side.
It's a trap!
So right now you're basically playing a medium to your M46 patent. And you have to be careful driving up on this ridge now, because now they have the K line.
It's a trap!
Whoa.
It's a trap!
And you're basically puppy dogging the patent a little bit too much. especially when you're the only two left in this situation. You need to try to create some avenues of fire where you have some advantages. So like you could, if he's gonna come around here, then you could stay right there, light for them, get the turret break, and then he can get free shots. But going to the same side, all you guys are going to end up doing is just peek and poke. And what you don't want to do in a 2v7 or whatever it is, when they have 3 times as much health as you, you don't want to trade 1-for-1 with them. That's not the way that you win games. The way that you win games is to turret break and shoot guys who are not facing you.
It's a trap!
Not by screwing up your patent shot in order to get your 200 damage shot. And then see how you guys are both on the same side? If you're on the other side, you can get side shots into that super Pershing. That JT's in the back. You can help keep him honest. Ram him. Ram him. Ram him. Good job. Well, now I would actually break out here. And then this is where you tell your patent to play small. Like the tanks that they have left are reasonably slow, except for the IS-8. But the IS-8 hasn't been seen in a while. So it'll take, if the JT wants to try to get on cap, that's fine. So you put the patent back over on this side. You go kill artillery, right? But it looks like your patent was poking in too much. So like that there was no reason for that patent to play as aggressively as it was. When they have cap pressure on, that's fine. If this JT wants to push down here, up here, across to get to the cap to put cap pressure on, you guys are gonna own him on the way there. But you don't need to keep poke in the same area. You know, it's like lighting 3 matches. That's fine. You need to go back though. So this plan is basically shot.
It's a trap!
And that's fine, you can shoot the track, but in this particular case it doesn't matter because you would want to actually reposition around him anyways. You could probably zoom that shot and have that be a better shot. That is unfortunate. You actually probably could have picked those guys off on cap if your patent played that smarter, and if you played that smarter. It's difficult to cap on that. Oh damn it! I thought I paused it. It's difficult to cap on that area if you have 2 different lanes of fire. Basically, I felt like the early lights you got were okay. It's difficult to play that ridge if that bulldog is driving straight at you. You just basically want to go back down into this sort of D-line area, and you can shoot back up into that ridge, and anybody that of your team that goes to that northeast can do it if they just look down there. It's really easy to light that F ridge, especially if they're giving you that dune that's right here. You know, all you have to do is just keep doing those loops. Those guys on the ridge would have been lit, and they would have been forced to either go back or get killed, right? And so I felt like you spent a lot of the time in the mid-game doing nothing. You were basically just driving around from here and there, maybe looking to snipe. And then in the late game, you really didn't do anything either. You just puppy-dogged the patent the whole time. And you want to avoid doing that in those types of situations where you need to mount a furious comeback. If you've got the advantage, you know, like let's say it was you know, a 2v1 where you guys are both one shot, you know, and your opponent's one shot, you want to stick together in that situation. But in this situation right now that you were in, where it was 2v7, you know, you need to have, you know, and you know that they're pushing towards the cap. You know that at least one guy was in the cap, right? You want to have different lanes of fire so that you can set up crossfires so that you can turret break and shoot people when they're not looking at you. Like, those are the types of exchanges that you're looking to make. Oh, the stupid thing. Try to upload all of your replays to WAT replays. It makes it much easier for me to get to the thing without the thing breaking. And so the patent did 7,800 damage, which is great. Yeah, I really felt like you could have done a lot more there. It's just you didn't get a whole lot out of your team, but I felt like, especially in that mid game, you were just too passive. Let's see, nice try though. 20 shots, 8k damage. I mean, that ammo rack helped. He probably had like a fire or something in there as well, because usually you don't get that high average damage per shot. And yeah, that's about it. GG, nice try. Alright, the next one is a Type 58 on South Coast. Alright, Type 58, top tier. They got a slightly heavier comp in that their top 3 tanks are heavy, although the 3601 is not really that super heavy. So you can do a number of different things. You can play through the 2-3 line. I don't normally recommend that. Usually the best thing to do is to go into one of these bushes up here early just to get an idea of what they send over here. I like to play through the 0 line a lot, but a lot of what you need to do is get intel, and especially in these mid to low tiers, a lot of your tanks that can actually scout won't actually scout. So getting an idea of what they send through here is actually really informative, because then if you come push around through that other side, you already know what's there. I think early intel is very the value of early intel is really underestimated, just because most people don't make use of it. And so they pushed a Sherman through that other side. You've got a PC4 Hydro on that side, so that's not that much of a problem. You haven't seen anything on this side, so I would actually consider going down to this area right here as a staging area. You're pushing some guys through the water side, but usually that's pretty bad, because they'll just run into one tank and essentially get stopped. Like at this point, right? You haven't seen anything, so I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Right, you want to do something. Oh yay, they pushed an AT2. Yeah, again, not too concerned about those guys, and they're not going to be in the best of positions. And see how your guys are getting hung up over here? So these guys are probably, well, I don't know, I guess they sort of out-tier them. It depends on how they do against that KV2. Just right now you're playing a little too snipey-dipey. Like you could just as easily see where this Cromwell is right there. That Cromwell could get shots at this AT2. The AT2 is faced west, so you can push him. The other AT2 is gonna come around to help eventually, but you want to be able to get him down. It's just you're you know, day late, dollar short, just over and over. Just go. Like, you're not, like, there's a PZ4 fighting an AT2, like, literally underneath you. Okay, that's fine. So you've lost on the west. You're going to lose on the east eventually. You're not going to be able to push the center. So what you want to be able to do is relocate to either stop these guys on the west or to attack these guys on the east. You guys are pushing in through here, which I guess is okay, but you want to have somebody on that flank. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to do that because they have a PC4 Hydro behind him as well. So you just want to force that AT2 to come around. And then remember that they're going to have guys up here that can shoot you. Like, you're still not in that great of a position. You want to relocate off to one side or the other. If you're not going to push that AT2, then you need to basically get out of here, because eventually they're going to kill that PZ Hydro, and you're going to have to do something. And so now you're pushing up here, which I think is great. It just took a little bit too long to get it done. You're losing behind you. So again, you always want to push out of a flank so that you're not, you don't want to get stuck in a crossfire. You're not really going to have good shots on that guy. There's a bunch of guys up here that you, I guess just a KV2, that you don't want to necessarily just run into. No, that's a KV85. Oh no. Take your time, take your time. KV85 is up there. You don't want to attack those guys frontally. You could still go head towards the cap. Like this PZ4H is going to come back. This Crusader is going to come back on this Stewart. So you could screen that. Like go up towards through their cap. Like I wouldn't necessarily worry about the KV85. The KV85 is up here, but right, he obviously didn't feel the need to push forward. He might have pushed back, but it seems unlikely. No, they're on your cap now, so you definitely need to go back. And then again, if the KV85 is still up here, then it's kind of irrelevant. Yeah, it looks like he went back. So that's not what you want to push. And so you don't want to drive through towards these guys, but you still have to get to the cap, so you have to drop down over here, because you're not going to have very much time. Well, this is a situation where also if you got on cap, you probably would have been able to cap out. So you don't want to drive all the way around. It's going to take you too long, and if that Wolverine or another tank gets on cap, then they're gonna out cap you. Just drive straight there. You can also drive up on this little hill right here to shoot into the cap, depending on where they're at. See how they have two. So see how now you're really rushed, you're really panicked, because you need to get a reset. And it's most likely going to be on the left. Doesn't matter who you shoot. You need to shoot him though. It's fine. Now just take your time. Just take your time. See how the Wolverine can't shoot you? That's perfect. That's what you want. Eventually that Wolverine is going to push forward though. Let's go ahead and drop spot. That's fine. Okay, and then now what you want to do is, so you don't know where the AT2 is, but you want to relocate out of this area. So I would probably stop right here into this bush just to peek into this lane to see if they're coming up this lane. If they're not coming up this lane, that means they're going to be coming up that lane. And this is why you always stay on this ridge here. That way if they do suddenly pop up over there, you just drop down on the ridge. If they pop up over here, then you just drive away from the ridge. That's why, always have an escape route. What if you spot somebody right there? What am I going to do? Okay, peek over on that side, then just peek over on the other side. You can knock over these things, it's okay. You can shoot through his front right there. Nice. Lol, the fire. So they're all on one side. That's fantastic. Just back off, back off, back off. Just literally turn around and run away, and then come up over on the other side. You don't want to keep peeking over the same area against 4 different tanks. So basically, what's going to end up happening is you're going to peek into like 4 or 5 different guns. They know where you're at. They're not apparently going to shoot at you, but it doesn't take a whole lot, right? All they have to do is just wait. But what you want to be able to do is push back into a further area where they're not entirely sure where you're at, where they have to push over a ridge where you can get a free shot of damage. That's really what you're looking for, is free damage at this point. Well, you're doing well so far. You need to get that KV-85 down. Nice. Okay, and then now really stop poking. Like, huge advantage. Just get out of there. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, just don't keep going back to the same well. We don't know where the KV-2 is. He might be flanking, but it'll take him a long time to flank. No, he's not. No, don't do it! See, so you're faster than him. The Crusader is tentative. So you can, as soon as you draw a spot, you can leave and come around to this flank and kill this KV-2. You want to drop spot before you turn your tank, though, because otherwise they'll see you turn your tank. Right, and if he gets you because he's coming around here and he happens to shoot first, them's the breaks. It's still the right thing to do. You want to go all the way around to this outside, though, as far away from this area as possible. There you go. Good job. You should turn your turret already. Turret should be facing over here. So he probably went down into this ridge over here. Hello. Nice try. So especially in tanks without good depression, if they're below you like that, don't force it, especially when you know that he's facing your direction. All you have to do is just stay on top of this ridge. You actually probably could have beat his traverse by just going up on top of this ridge and coming around behind him. But that's something that you can gauge, right? That's something where you can just drive up right there, look over the edge of the cliff. If his turret has turned enough that he can shoot you, then just turn the other way and just leave, right? You have the option of whether to engage this KV-2 or not. It is your decision. If you decide that you want to engage the KV-2, you can. If you decide that you don't want to engage the KV-2, you don't have to. He has no control over what happens, right? Only you have control. So you need to make that decision of, okay, is he facing me? Can he shoot me? And if he can, or before you are going to have the gun depression to shoot him, then you need to just abort that and just literally just turn around and go back, right? You have plenty of time. There's still 5 minutes left on the clock. The Crusader itself is not gonna be able to one-shot you. Only the KV-2 can. I felt like a lot of the early game was just too passive. You could have maybe been either on the east side helping your team or on the west side helping your team, especially when you saw the two AT2s pushing towards the middle. You had a PZ Hydro come through the middle, but that was really all that you had there. Their AT2s were really bad, and your PZ4 Hydro lived longer than he should have. But you really didn't do a whole lot in that early game, and probably would have been better off helping your guys either on the west or on the east. In the late game, you did fine. I felt like you don't want to create a situation where you're poking into 4 guns. What you want to do is you want to keep moving back, right? And then as one of them pokes over the ridge, you get a free shot of damage, and then you fall back, and then they have to poke over the next ridge, and then you shoot them and get a shot of free damage, and then you fall back, and then they get into the cap circle, and then you get a free shot of, you see what I'm getting at. You don't want to just constantly trade 1 for 4, or even 1 for 2, since only maybe 2 of them will have shots on you. That's not to your advantage. Your advantage is to get a free shot of damage and then fall back, free shot of damage and then fall back. And so, like, we talk about this a lot in the stream, and when I'm, let's say that I'm one shot, and I know, it's a 1v1 at the end of the game, and I'm one shot, and I know the other guy is going to take 3 shots to kill, right? I want to create situations where I can get a free shot of damage where he gets nothing, right? And that's a similar situation here, where you want to get a free shot of damage on these guys as they are sort of climbing up this hill where they get nothing in return. Alright, and so if we look at the stats, not bad. Thought you played the mid to late game fairly well, and you certainly did a lot of damage once you actually got once your gun was actually forced into the game by them pushing into you, but probably would have been better off if a lot of that was done earlier. Unfortunately, your beach push didn't do much, but the beach push, it's really hard, especially when you're putting mediums out there. I don't really think that the beach push is a good play on South Coast. Or Serene Coast. South Coast? Yeah, South Coast. I think, right? Yeah. I always get the names mixed up. But otherwise, your shot efficiency was pretty good, and I thought you did a good job of picking out the hatch, like on the KV-85 and the AT2, which is always nice. So, GG. Nice try. Alright, we'll do one more. Korhaniski's Lorraine on Serene Coast now. We're getting all the coasts. Yeah, you're in a relatively slow tank, but trust me, a KV2 still slower than your tank. Alrighty, so Serene Coast. Roughly similar comps. So you can go peek into this B1 area if you go there aggressively. I don't think Lorraine's that good of a play there, especially against 3 artillery. You can play through the middle as well. I think that's more already safe, but it also requires you to be a little bit more exploratory. I don't think that playing the east is conducive to mediums at all, especially if you're in lightly armored ones. So your T-44 is going this way. It looks like a lot of your team is going the other way. Although a lot, your E-75, JT, a lot of your 9s are going the other way. Well, your 2 other 9s are going the other way. So you got to be a little bit careful here. You got a T-44 with you. But like if this T-54 pops up over here, he could potentially bully you. Especially since he's got RD support. You've got nothing in the middle, so you also have to keep that in mind. And so what you don't want to do, if you're going to come to this side, you need to figure out what's over here. Otherwise, essentially what you're saying is you're going to concede this area. And if you concede this area, it means a couple of things. It means that all they have to do is just peek over here, and you're not going to be in a good position. The only time you're going to be in a good position in where you're at right now is if they YOLO onto the T-44, and they'll still probably kill the T-44. See what this T-54 is doing? All they need to do is just peek and poke, right? And they'll get. I mean, this T-54 will essentially get hold down shots. I mean, you've got 3 already, but he'll still get reasonably good shots. Like he's shooting into the back of your T-44 right now. And so see how your gun is? You're basically pinned right now because you've got no use for your gun. Like you can't even target anything right now. So they've got good position over here, right? So that means that this side is essentially forfeit. This is good. For some reason, their 704 back down. I mean, so like if you're that 704, you need to be careful. about backing out. Like, all he had to do is put his butt into the rock, and the 1390 wouldn't have been able to get him. So you need to leave. Like, the position that you're in right now is deteriorating by the second. But that position is not a very good one to begin with. Again, so I don't like. I think if you're gonna go over here, you go over here and you peek, and you either punch them in the face or you run away. Like, that's the sort of decision tree. Playing the middle ground, it usually doesn't get you. It doesn't get you shots, really. I mean, you got shots on their 704 because he left his rock because he thought he was being circled by a 1390. You should try to track him here if you can. So what you're really trying to do is save your 1390. Last couple shots were good. So then I would go ahead and reload and fall back behind this house. You can just sit on this edge right here and be fine. You don't want to be too far out because you can get hit by our arty where you're at. Not sure what you're giving the arty rear armor to give them the maximum chance to pen. You can push that Conqueror if you want. If you push that Conqueror, go through the middle here, right? You see that they've got a glut over here. You're gonna lose this side at some point, most likely. At some point, they're gonna get brave enough to push. You want to look at someplace where they're weak, and you want to be careful pushing across right here because you can get lit from that side. And so this is the right play. So you go and see if you can find that Conqueror, and if you find that Conqueror, then you kill him, and if you don't find the Conqueror, then you see if you can push through. I still would have probably gone around through this outside over here, but
it's a trap.
Each his own. It's fine, they push through over here. And that's all that they really had to do. Once they were brave enough to push through, then that's fine. You should go back through the middle here, because you don't want to be on this side. You actually have to come back all the way through over here. This is the best place for you to be. Your team's not trading very well on the east either. So these guys are going to be able to kill your artillery, because your artillery really haven't moved. I don't think your artillery are paying attention to what's going on that side, but them's the breaks. You're still going to need to spot. Like, it looks like your guys are sort of pushing over here, and I mean, the 4502B is going to be tough for them to crack. So you actually just want to wait at this point. If you're so there's a ridge right here that you're not going to be able to challenge them across, although if they're going to drive across for free. So take your time and kill the T-54. Okay, you're already not going to be able to kill the T-54. Now, what you want to do is kill the 1390 and then leave. Don't ram him. Just leave. Just leave. Don't. Just leave. Just reload and just leave. The JT's coming back. You can go in here. It's fine. No. You don't want to be someplace where you can get hit by arty. You want, like, you're not afraid of the T-54, right? Because you can just hide over there from the T-54. You're afraid of getting hit from arty from down there, right? Your team hasn't secured this area at all. So the T-32 will be coming around through this area as well at some point. So that's something that you're going to have to be concerned about. Oh, there he is.
It's a trap.
Just clip him. Just clip him. Take the shot of damage. Take the shot of damage and clip him. Just clip him. Because you don't want to let arty zone in on you. Just do it. Just do it. Just take the damage and do it. Just do it. Just go around to this other side of the rock where you're already safe and do it. What are you waiting for?
It's a trap.
Oh my god. Just do it. He's gonna shoot you, which is fine. Just do it. You don't need to dance. What? You need to just deal damage. There you go. You could have done that, I don't know, a lot earlier. Like, there was no reason for you to wait there. You were loaded. You knew where he was. He was in a bad position where he was faced away from you. Just do it. You were gonna do it anyways. Do it as soon as you can. Don't give him a chance. You can still get that T-54 if you come up on these tracks over here. Lol. Yeah, it's just one of the things that I always try to emphasize is that if it's something that you know you're going to do anyways, don't, waste as little time as possible to do it. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 times out of 100 that'll bite you in the ass, but 98, 99 times out of 100 it'll be to your advantage, because 1, they won't be ready, 2, their support won't be ready if there are any, and 3, any potential support won't be able to position, already won't be able to aim it. Just do it. But I think a lot of that also is understanding when you can bully. You should actually look and see if you can push around behind these guys. I think the 4502A or a B is going to be a problem. Or oh no, it's an A. Never mind. Oh, but they're both over there. Yeah, I would go after artillery. They're probably, I want to say at least 1 is probably going to be back there, and then 1 is probably going to be out here someplace.
It's a trap!
I think he's facing away from you. And he's probably turning though. Yeah, it's too slowly though. You got him.
It's a trap!
You can shoot the 4502A as well. Oh my god! Nice work. And then what you want to do is you want to get off the cap. You just want to leave. Go someplace. Any place else. Like if you go through here, just leave. No, just leave. Don't stay on the cap, especially when you're loading. Just leave. There's no advantage for you to stay here. You've got 5 minutes left in the game. You've got a guy alive over here. You guys can get one. You can do 1-2s on this ISU. You have every incentive to leave. Okay, now you're loaded at least, so theoretically you have a chance. I still think that this guy was probably out over here someplace, so he might come up over here or he might come up over there. So what I would do is I would be on this side, and then that way you would see him. So what you don't want it to come down to a coin flip where, okay, I'm facing this way, but if he comes from the other side, you want it to come down to, okay, if you're over here, and just be ready to leave. Like, see, he's on the other side. So you lost the coin flip, right? But I still didn't feel like there was any reason for you to be on the cap at all, especially while you're loading. There's no reason. All you had to do was just leave, come back. You could have even just hooked up with the JT again, and then just push the ISU, and one of you should have been able to kill him. I really felt like that decision to stay in the cap probably cost you. That and the JT just missing the ISU right there. And I guess you didn't switch to the JT. Not entirely sure where the JT is going. The JT is basically driving himself into a pincer right now. See how this guy's over here, this guy's over here? So the JT is just driving into this lane where he can get shot by both. That's really what you want to avoid doing. Like, he'll probably get killed by the ISU in a second. Oh, the ISU with the aggressive flank. So anyways, to break the game down, so you went out over here, which, you know, going west is fine. You have to understand that based upon their comp, if they push that T-54 right there, that he's got an advantage on you because he's got a turret and you're squishy. You actually stopped back here, which I'm not much of a fan of. You got 0 shots from this area until your 1390 YOLO'd, and if that 704 didn't run away from his rock for God knows what reason, you wouldn't have had shots on that guy either. You spent a lot of time over in this area, really not doing a whole lot. A lot of their middle was completely empty on both sides, both the north and the south spawn, completely abandoned this area over here. When you push the Conqueror, that was fine. You had to recognize that at some point they were just going to push over and kill your guys over here. Like, there wasn't, you know, this was their huge advantage, was over here. All they had to do was play to a stalemate over here, and they were going to win over here. You went back through the middle, which is fine. They pushed in, which gave you an advantage. You should have focused on clipping out the T-54. The T-54 was the bigger threat, not the 1390. You were a little bit inefficient with that clip, and so you had to take what you can get, and at that point, kill the 1390 and leave. But the fact that T-54 was allowed to remain there caused huge problems. You kind of bungled your play over on this hill over here. You were exposed to get shot by both the T-54 and by their artillery. You managed to do both, whereas if you just came into this cubby right here to reload, you would have been able to reload in peace. So that's something to keep in mind. And then a lot of it, a lot of the interim was fine. I thought coming across those tracks to shoot at the T-54 was a good idea. It sort of highlights what I always say, that if this T-54 is facing your JT, if you go to a flank, you'll almost always get easy shots on that. Pushing back through the middle is fine. You took out the GW Tagger, but as soon as you took out the GW Tagger and started reloading, as soon as you hit that reload button, usually what I'll do is I'll turn around and leave, and then as I'm leaving, I'll hit the reload button, because that way, if I hit the reload button and then start turning around and somebody catches me there, then I'm in a bad position. So I'll usually start leaving, and then your Lorraine is faster than any of those other tanks. So none of those other tanks were going to catch up to you, so you would have been safe for your entire reload. Could have hooked up with the JT and then finished the rest. And then if you are going to stay on the cap, like let's say you were loaded and you were going to stay on the cap, that's fine. I mean, I presume that this guy was going to be on this artillery is going to be on the east, and based upon the way that you were facing, you were thinking that the artillery and or the ISU was going to be on the east. You knew that the ISU might be coming back, and the only way that the ISU was going to spot you was through here. So it would have been much smarter to be on this side of the cap, where you could watch both of these at the same time, instead of doing the coin flip thing that you did, which is essentially what the JT did. You basically put yourself into a flanking position where you said, okay, come and get me. You want to be in a position where you can cover both lanes, or where it's not so easy for them to just flank you like that. And I thought that would have been an okay play as well. But that's kind of sketchy, because especially when you're using the AMX 5100 gun, you're not going to one-shot that Crusader SPG. So you don't necessarily want to try to exchange with them in that. And so that's the drawback of being in the cap, because when you're in the cap, they know you're in the cap. So, it's just a matter of them coordinating to attack into you at that point, which is why in this type of situation, I don't think you need to be in the cap at all. I think it's a huge disadvantage to be in the cap there. And so if we look at the stats, your Ferdinand on that east side did pretty well. Your JT I thought would have done better for the shots that he got, but I guess not. And you didn't get a whole lot of your guys out on the west. But that's kind of to be assumed. Like, once you see that T-54's position, it was going to be difficult for you guys to deal a lot of damage on that west until they moved further through. Which is why, basically, if you concede the one line like that, you've essentially conceded 3 line as well. So you might as well back off. It's a lot like, losing the hill on Karelia. You don't want to stay out there and and get shot. At that point, if you concede the hill on Corellia, you know, let them just drive all the way into a position where you do have an advantage, right? And that's essentially on Serene Coast. That's when they cross the railroad tracks and drive into your cap. That's when you regain the terrain advantage, right? When they have to push across that. And so if your guys just fell back there, then you know you would have been better equipped to attack. To defend that side, but that's something that I think people don't necessarily recognize a lot. 24 for 28, 22 for 28 essentially if you go off of pens. That's not bad. The gun handling on that gun is not the bestest, but yeah, I really felt like this is a game. Oops. Scrolling all over the place. I really felt like this is a game that you probably could have or should have won. Just little mistakes at the end. Arguably, some mistakes at the beginning, if you corrected them, could have snowballed into better things for your teams. But a lot of times, you know, if you want to be a reductionist about it, you look at that end game play where it's 2v2, and you know, you and the JT against an ISU and a Crusader SPG, you should win that. You know, you need to find ways to win those types of 2v2s. Nice try though, GG. It was very entertaining to watch at least. Oh yes, and bully when you can bully. If bully, then bully.